Hello, this is TelecomTV. I'm Martyn Warwick, and I'm talking with Sunil Khandekar, CEO and founder of Nuage Networks. Sunil, when we talked last time, it was about positioning SDN, what its capabilities are, what's going to happen going forward. It's a few months ago, but not that long ago. What's your take on the changes in the market since then?
SDN has really progressed quite substantially over the last couple of years. We went from hype, where SDN will do everything, to some clarity. And so SDN has progressed since then. And from the perspective of Nuage, we are seeing actually customers not anymore asking what, but they're asking how. Show us how SDN can actually provide these benefits. And of course, we are excited to be at the forefront of providing the most comprehensive SDN solution.
Let's move on. Given that we're talking about open source, open network, open compute, that sort of thing, reshaping the network, how are we going to see this happen, and when are we going to see it happen?
Great question. Open source initiatives in general are all about offering choice. They're about offering flexibility, and ultimately to avoid vendor lock-in. So SDN and the way it brings the automation capability promises to transform that. And you mix in open source technologies in that mix, and you suddenly have a perfect storm where we see a big disruption coming, and customers will be able to build networks that are more automated, more programmable, and best of all, they will have a choice of selecting open, standards-based solutions that are not requiring them to, pay a lot of premium.
Do you not think it's a possibility that manufacturers will in some way try to sequester to themselves some of the power and some of the lock-in, despite the fact we're talking about open source?
Indeed, however, I think that, as again we've seen how that story ends generally,
Yep.
It's best for vendors and manufacturers to actually embrace Openflow and open source technologies. And all open source initiatives are just wonderful initiatives, and remember, at the end of the day, if vendors and manufacturers are offering real solutions, they're solving real problems for the customers, then they don't need to worry about anything because customers will gladly pay for that value.
We've skirted around the notion of standards. A lot say that fewer standards, open source, fewer standards will result in a faster deployment of SDN. In other words, it's better to have some kind of de facto standards, voluntary standards, de jure standards, or no standards at all, and devil take the hindmost. Do you think that's the way things are going to go?
Not quite. Standards, like open source initiatives, are all about offering choice. It's about offering customers the capability to build best-of-breed solutions. And it's not about too many standards or too few standards. It's about the right standards for the right use cases that solve real problems. And that's what needs to be the focus of any standards and any standards bodies or initiatives that are in the industry. If we are able to do that, I think we will progress this further quite substantially.
When you have a notion of disruptive innovation, isn't it the fact that it happens once, it then becomes again almost standard, the norm that everybody can live with? We had that change. I'm happy with this. I don't want to move on again. But is it not the case that disruptive innovation is a necessary evil if we want to keep innovation going?
It all depends upon where you are and your perspective. We love disruptive innovation. And we love how it allows us to provide meaningful value in the change that is occurring in the market. Of course, some other players are very defensive about it, but we like change. We like change, and Nuage in some ways is a poster child of disruptive innovation, because what we are doing as part of Nuage is we are bringing some of the most sophisticated technologies that were only available to the largest of the largest service providers. We have taken that technology and made it available to the enterprise networks for building private and public cloud infrastructures. And we've added the automation and programmability on top to provide real meaningful value.
SDN is presented as having these transformative powers, and they will, of course, for the CSPs, the operators. What will the end users actually get out of it when everything's in place?
Yeah, that's a great question. So from an end user's perspective, it's about having the capability to get to my data, to get to my applications when I need it, anytime, any place, any cloud. And what that means is a requirement that's imposed on the provider to build an infrastructure. And this is indeed the foundation, and SDN provides that foundation of building a public or private cloud infrastructure that's fully self-service, it's automated, it's programmable, it's responsive, it's agile. And that's what is critical. So when it comes to end user, it's all about that. If public cloud infrastructures are as responsive and agile and automated and self-service, they will benefit. It actually reminds me of a marketing campaign by a manufacturer who said, we don't make the products, we make the products better. Similarly, SDN doesn't make the applications for the cloud, but SDN makes the applications for the cloud work better.
We hear a lot of stuff at the moment about SDN. We also hear a lot of stuff about NFV. There's a lot of emphasis on FV and on what it can do for people pretty quickly and what it can do for CSPs pretty quickly. Do you think there's a possibility that the NFV tail is actually going to wag the SDN dog?
Not quite. I don't see it that way. NFV is about virtualization of applications that are generally been available in specialized appliances, and identifying those applications, identifying what makes sense, and then virtualizing it, taking advantage of the scale-out architectures, but yet preserving the service as it was when it was offered as an appliance. So that's a journey that all service providers are on with regards to identifying those applications and making sure that that happens. Whenever that happens, SDN will be available to automate that infrastructure. Because at the end of the day, and that's the way to view it, NFV is a use case for SDN. And SDN helps automate most existing network data centers. And that's what it'll do even for NFV applications.
Interesting stuff. Sunil Khandekar, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Martyn. Great to talk to you as always.